What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on the channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, hot off the presses, we actually have a brand new proposal in the mix. I'm sorry, a pre-proposal for rent controls. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this. This is actually put in from Captain Dingus, the Lamacron guy, or the guy with the Lamacron tattoo. Got to meet him at Splinterfest last year, or oh my gosh, 2 years ago. And it's about bringing the minimum rental price from 0.1 DEC up to 1 DEC. So I'm not going to read this whole proposal to you. I'm just going to go through, in my opinion, what the highlights and the main points are. So you can see here, it's essentially just wanting to bring that minimum from 0.1 to 1 DEC and suggesting a 1 DEC floor. He believes it's going to have two primary effects. It'll help reduce the bot horde by increasing the rental costs associated with them by 10x, and it will help make rentals more profitable. Any card rented one time will be profitable because essentially if the floor is at 1 and the minimum rental is at 2 days, then you burn 1 DEC, right, for the listing fee, and you're immediately going to make that back plus the additional day, right, because of the 2-day minimum. Right now, if you put something at the floor, which is 0.1, it's going to take 10 days in order just to break even. So time frame, talking about increase on the maintenance that occurs following our next town hall. So this would be sometime in July. In addition, I would like to see the time frame of 60 days for all current rentals stay in place. I do not believe it would be fair to fair to those who just listed cards to be forced to pay another listing fee. So that's fair. That makes sense. Let's see. Additional context: increasing the value of the playable cards, and then due to the unrentable cards no longer flooding the market, there should be a reduction in overall transactions on rentals, but an overall increase in ROA. This will benefit everyone by reducing server load. For those saying it will hurt rentals, he's using his example here. Why are they not listed? It's because they were all listed for 60 days, didn't do anything. These were the maxed regular foil heatsmiths. So in conclusion, we must remember the business expression, a race to the bottom benefits no one. And then they have an original draft here that you can go check out. So my thought on this, and it might surprise some folks, this has come up several times in the past, and my immediate thought was, do we really want to introduce like price controls, rent controls into the game economy? That's not great, right? And I remember Aggie at the time that he was CEO had a similar mindset. But the interesting thing is we already have a rent control. We already have a price floor. And maybe that's just due to technical limitations, but the price floor is 0.1 DEC. And the crazy thing is you look out around the ecosystem, and there's a ton of cards, either single BCX or all the way up to max BCX, that are renting out for 0.1 DEC. And there's like a billion of them. Not a billion, but you know what I'm saying. There's a ton of them out there, and a bunch that aren't getting rented. And I will bet you that many people would love to put it for lower than 0.1 DEC if they could. I know that there's probably some ROA or ROI type of considerations, but the whole thing here is that there's already a built-in floor that we've had, maybe just due to technical limitations. So in a way, I look at this as not, adding in a new price floor, adding in price controls, because we already have that to a certain extent, and I can understand and even be convinced, by the arguments here from Captain Dingus, that it would make rentals much more profitable if you pushed it up to 1 DEC. Now, what are the secondary effects here that we're not thinking of, or that Captain Dingus might have overlooked? I think one of the biggest is the amount of DEC burned from listing fees will probably go down significantly, right? Because if you have a lot of folks, like if you're competing right now, and what I mean by this is like, let's say the people who put, a listing for a 0.1 DEC, and then all the people who put one for 0.2, 0.3, all the way up to 1 DEC. Now all of that gets flooded at 1 DEC. Right? So it immediately becomes even more saturated at that 1 DEC level, which means if the player base isn't there for it, right? If the demand isn't there for it, people are just going to stop listing their rentals. So, and that's fine, right? Because I don't want people to be just wasting DEC. I mean, it's good for the ecosystem, but I don't want people to waste DEC, become disillusioned with renting, and ultimately, just disengage from the game for that reason. But again, that's more of a minor concern for me than what he's talking about here, where it's just like, okay, at some point we will get to an equilibrium, in my opinion, right? Especially with the changes that are being made now for Wild and that Wild season permit. We're going to reduce bots and all that, or at least bot farms, unprofitable bot farms after that. And so therefore, what could be interesting is, okay, at that point, you're really only going to have cards, and you're really going to list cards that will have some kind of demand. And if you do so, at that point, you'll know that if it gets rented out, you're immediately in a profit, right? Because you list it for 1 DEC, it gets rented, and boom, you're off to the races because you get 2 DEC back on that 2-day minimum rental. So I'm actually going to vote in favor of this. I voted for it in favor of it for the pre-proposal phase. Again, this is still brand new, so I'm going to jump into Discord and X and just to see what the general feedback is, if there's something that I'm missing. And obviously, if you guys have any thoughts against the proposal, I would love to hear that in the comments too, because like I said, I'm thinking through his arguments for, I'm thinking through the arguments against. I'm sure I might have missed something, especially in the argument against, and I'm curious to see what that could be and if it would change my mind. But as of now, like I said, the biggest thing holding me back was like, oh, we're going to be introducing price controls, right? We're going to be introducing rank control. And I realized that we already have that, right? We already have that. And I think many people would have listed much lower if they could have, just to move the product, right? Just to move the rentals. But, at the end of the day, I'm getting a little bit convinced by this. If you feel like this is something that would hurt you and your rental game, right, by doing this, I definitely want to know, because I'm not big in the card lord market. I rent out cards. I definitely rent out some cards for less than, a DEC. If I were to rent them for 1 DEC, that would be fantastic, because, I earn more from that. But also at the same time, if I no longer am able to rent them because of said thing earlier, where it's just like, okay, now there's like 10x the amount listed at 1 DEC, and mine, unless I get lucky, mine isn't going to get rented. So I probably wouldn't put it back on the marketplace, if you get what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that if I lose out on that, it's not like the biggest deal for me, because I'm just renting out extra cards at this point. I don't even know what my rental income is. I think it's like less than 50 DEC. So at the end of the day, that wouldn't be something that's like, it's just going to change my experience with the game. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you feel about this proposal specifically, and just the concept generally, right, of reducing or adding in a price control, or increasing the price control, adjusting it. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. I will catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.